Donovan Barner writes, some film reviewers on YouTube call film in Hollywood a business. Consequently, many have failed to remember that film is a superior art form that transcends the business-driven economy that is Hollywood. I would love to hear your take on whether films are best suited as art forms or business ventures. Thank you all so much for the content and stay saucy.
This is the constant eternal struggle, both amongst in the industry itself and amongst fans. Is Hollywood an art or is Hollywood a business? And my contention has always been, why are the two mutually exclusive? It is not either or, it is both and. Hollywood is an art and Hollywood is a business. There are those out there who want you to look at Hollywood as nothing but a business. It's all about dollars and cents. There are those out there who just want you to see the filmmaking is nothing but an art and whatever. It reminds, think of a cocktail party and you got the guy, little guy in a business suit walking up to the artist director in a coiffed hairstyle with a little scarf around his neck. And the little guy says to him, Hey, I understand you're putting in a request for, you want to make a $125 million movie? What's that about? And the artist then goes, it's about a butterfly who flies into the sun and emerges on the other side as a caterpillar. It's an allegory for our socio-economic times and the diversity between the classes. It's going to be brilliant. Okay, yeah, that sounds great. And who's going to pay for this? Don't be silly, little man. You're going to pay for it. I'm an artist. Artists don't pay for things. No, I often find when I talk to people who just side on the business aspect, it's like they forget that good art is good business. Like there was a number of years ago, going back a while now, like when comic book movies were spit out now and again and stuff like that, where they thought, just put out any piece of crap. It's a comic book movie. It's going to have its audience. What Hollywood started to learn is like, hey, wait a minute. The better we make the movies, the more money they make. It's like they started to put that together. Good business is not divorced from good art. But at the same time, I talk to people who just say business should stay out of it and whatever. Just, buy my house and then don't ever step foot in it. Like it's sometimes on the artist side, it's like they totally just want to pretend like the economic realities don't exist because it's easy to pretend that way when you're not the one who's paying for anything, when you're not the one who's cutting the checks and you're the one who's losing $40 million on a film or whatever. To me, Hollywood is not an either or, it is a both and. I don't know, David, how do you see it?
No, I completely agree. I think people have this whole conception of like the evil executives and people like sitting in this boardroom just staring down like, fail, no money. But it does it's beautiful when it works together. Now, the more power you have in Hollywood, sometimes you have more pull. Like if you're a James Cameron or a Christopher Nolan, sometimes, like, okay, hey, if you do The Dark Knight for us, we'll give you Inception. We'll finance that. If you do the third Batman, Dark Knight Rises, we'll let you do Interstellar. Sometimes you have to make some deals, but at the top level, you can have both. It can work. I mean, look at like the small movie Black Swan. Did very well.
Yeah.
Black Swan did very well. And that was, a very small film, but it actually did well, made a lot of money. So when it works together well, I think it'd be a beautiful thing. It doesn't have, I think when you put that dollar sign on it, people believe it taints it. It's tainted somehow. But when you're an author, you're Stephen King. Stephen King's not going to write a 1,000-page book and just keep it for himself. Like no one's going to read it. He wants to release it, not just to make money, but to share his art. Art is great when it's interpreted and shared with other people. You don't want to hide it.
I 100% agree, but then also let's look at Noah. That's a movie that was also artistic and experimental, but it cost millions and millions of dollars and didn't make that money back. Yeah. Henceforth, business equals meeting art at a failure point. I liked Noah a lot, but if I was the person who put all that money in, I'd be really pissed because I would have now been bankrupt. So it's sort of one of those things where, if you're making an artistic venture, you have to be able to make it for less money because it might not be as smooth and homogenized as a lot of other larger films are. And homogenized is not in a bad term. It's a way that so that more people can see it as opposed to a selective group of people. So if you're targeting a selective group of people, you can be a little bit more experimental. You could take more risks, and as long as it doesn't take as much money because of the way that these movies and television, all entertainment, pretty much is both art and business. It's the great mixture of the two, and you get people who are elitists on both sides and argue both sides. I've been in rooms pitching a show with people who just have blank looks because they don't get what I'm talking about. So you have to find the right way to talk to everyone.
That's you and me every morning.
Yeah, that's me. That's Campea. I'm like, listen, John, I'm trying to. He's like. Just eating some chocolate, watching a Star Wars Rebels episode. I don't know what you're saying, Schnepp. What are you saying? Chocolate dripping. That's not how it works.
Hashtag chocolate dripping.
John, is it exhausting for you when you were making your documentary to go through that process? I mean, how was that? I mean,
well, here's the thing. It wasn't exhausting for me for that part of it because since we crowdfunded it, we didn't have to go through that aspect of it. It was more like communicating to the people that we wanted to interview. So that's a totally other question. But as far as the business meeting art, it is a true merger that you have to have. You have to be able to make compromises if you're going to make a larger type of a film, because those are the risks that you're going to have to take. You have to work. Everybody has to work together. If you're like going to be like that guy's like, the butterfly, whatever, do that accent.
I'm an artist. I don't pay for guffaw.
I got $1 million. If you can make that movie for $1 million, we got a deal.
See?
Yeah. We got to do a podcast of just those two characters.
I'll be teased. I got a little man in my stomach there, Frenchie or whatever accent you got there. I'm going to put $1 million on that butterfly, snowflake, sun thing that you're talking about. I like it. $1 million, nothing more.